For long.
I don't know. You can leave it open so there's noise out there, Chris.
Well, I'll crack it a little bit if it gets
It'll
noisy.
close with the wind.
Huh?
It's going to slam if it'll close. Yeah, that's probably not so much. All right. Welcome, everyone. This is April 23rd. This is the House Energy and Digital Infrastructure Committee. We are here to hear testimony from Public Service Department on S-219 around energy navigators. So we will do our customary introductions. I'm Scott Campbell from St. Johnsbury. The chair is away, so I'm vice chair and here next me.
Richard Bailey, Lamoille 2. Chris Morrow, Windsor, Bennington. Michael Southworth, Caledonia 2.
Christopher Howland, Rutland 4.
Darren Torrey, Washington 2.
Graham Clipner, Chittenden 13, Burlington.
And for the record,
Al Genchek, I'm the director of department. Excuse me. From the throat there. Director of the Division of Energy and Efficiency Resources at the Department of Public Service.
yes, thank you for joining us, Alec. Did you have prepared testimony or?
I was a little rushed. The call to come in yesterday afternoon, so I have not prepared anything written. I just came to basically reiterate what I've said about this bill already, which is that the department appreciates the focus on navigators. This was a recommendation that we included in a long list of recommendations related to 142, which compelled the PUC to provide a report on affordability, and included things looking at low income rates, looked at a number of issues related to energy affordability. And one of the recommendations that the department made was, given the myriad programs directed at energy affordability, energy efficiency utility programs, the DU Tier 3 programs, the weatherization assistance programs, the Office of Economic Opportunity program, we have a whole list, over 100 programs that touch energy affordability in some way. And that given the sort of just that huge landscape of opportunity, we thought there might be a place for a navigator type program to help certain groups navigate that structure. And in particular, we noted that there are a number of very good offerings that address the low income populations. Typically, in particular, the Office of Economic Opportunity programs, weatherization assistance programs are particularly exemplary in that respect, and they offer turnkey service. It's no cost to the customer. Everything is scheduled and managed on behalf of the customer, and so it's very easy, and there's no upfront cost. And so what happens if you make slightly too much money to qualify for one of those programs, but you're still, in a vulnerable population? And we thought a navigator type program might help address some of the issues with participating when that low income option is no longer available. All of that said, another recommendation that we made as part of that report was to do a more thorough, comprehensive review of all of those programs. And so our first step, we've got an RFP out right now, soliciting a contractor to help do a comprehensive review and comparison of that 100+ program list that we put together. And I am fairly certain that one of the recommendations that comes out of this report that they'll ultimately deliver will be some form of navigator type program. And so we just ask that we get to finish that report first, so that we can take full stock of what the actual landscape really looks like, what's working, where gaps may exist, where synergies can be leveraged to improve outcomes, all of those types of things. And then we are happy to dive into the navigator program design as outlined in this.
Yeah, you mentioned the navigator program when you were here 3 weeks ago. I think it was. I'm looking to the day. And at that time, you mentioned that the RFP was out and that you were expecting to award a contract in about 3 weeks. So
So we've got it narrowed down to 2 finalists, and we are just negotiating on pricing right now. But we hope to have a contractor selected by the end of next week, and then kick off that process.
And is this the report you're talking about, the energy cost stabilization study, or is there another report based coming out of Act 142? That
Yeah, so
or this is the study?
yeah, you're referring to the report from the PUC.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, so that's the report that came out of 142, which includes the department's recommendations.
Yeah.
One of which was to
Do this study.
look, yeah,
So this RFP is sort of an accord to this. Correct. Okay. All right. I was looking at it and I didn't see specific reference to it, but I was just wondering. Okay. Like,
So from what you just said and from what you said last time you were here, you would like to be able to do your work before anything like this would come into play. And then based on what the recommendations are from what you get, then this may play some part in it, or you may be able to address everything from yours.
But that's a good question, and I guess our hope is that in finishing our report, it will give us more guidance on sort of where to point a navigator program. I think the challenge would be, if we get a recommendation that says something along the lines of what I outlined, there's a tailored navigator offering for this specific population that would help, it's a low to moderate income, just for example, that doing a program design, something to that effect would be fairly straightforward in the continuation of that report effort. Conversely, if we get a recommendation that's like, this whole thing is just foobar and you need to page one rewrite and we need a navigator program that's much bigger or something more overarching, I would be a little bit more concerned in that case. There'd be other problems that we need to address. I don't think that will be the outcome, but if that were the case, that the recommendation was to develop something more comprehensive and complicated, we might need to rethink sort of the process as I want it, just given that that would take probably a lot more time and resources.
thank you. And I was looking for the RFP and I couldn't find that. Could you? I can have. Yeah, I'll use it to see that.
Yeah.
So you can just see what you're looking for in the RFP. Yep.
And will it include the budget? Like the budget you're working with?
The budget is not included in the RFP. We're trying to solicit competitive bids, but I think off the top of my head, it's based on a grant that we're getting from A&R, which is focused on a number of things, but I think it's somewhere around 200.
You have to say.
Yeah, I don't know the exact number off my head anyway. I can get you one.
$200 should buy a lot.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Let's see. So I guess I've been thinking about this and kind of on the fence about it from my background in weatherization and 3D thermal, and also thinking about the sort of level of training that seems required.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't notice in the bill or in any of the other testimony an emphasis on training for these volunteers. So I guess my anxiety was basing a program like this on volunteers, and to what extent are they current with sort of state of the art knowledge about not only efficiency but building science, building fluid performance. It's easy to mess things up, and if you're still recommending people install a polyethylene paper barrier on the inside of their studs, for example, then maybe that is going to create more problems than that it will solve in the long run. And wind up with more being trapped inside the wall and low mildew structural failure. I mean, there's certainly there certainly are examples of that kind of building failure. So just sort of extrapolating that to the universe of energy efficiency, energy recommendations that might come out of the Navigator program, it just seems like there's plenty of room for misinformation, and not malicious misinformation, just people not knowing what the implications are of a better insulated, more airtight house, and what does that mean? So I guess that's been my hesitancy about it. It would seem to me that I would want to see in this bill much more emphasis on training for volunteering. Training then being, well, what kind of training and who's going to pay for it? So
Yes, all important questions to answer. And I think that to one point, I don't think that the vision that the department has is for this to be volunteer. But I think that these would, yeah, to your point, this is a pretty specialized skill set required to help, even, weatherization aside, even just helping navigate programs and understanding, if you do this, then you need to do this step first. And, if you're going to do a heat pump, then maybe you should think about weatherization, or maybe you should think about other measures, or, the sort of order of operations. So yes, point taken. And we definitely are aware of the fact that this needs to be trained professional people that understand the programs, understand the requirements, participation, all of that kind of thing. And depending on what this is specifically pointed at, an example of weatherization, that there would need to be training in how the weatherization program works as well.
So I think you just said that public service department's vision is not that this is a volunteer group.
No, I don't think so. And the specifics I think will come out of the program design itself. But no, I don't think that we were envisioning this would be volunteers.
Well, that seems like that's kind of the basis of S219.
I guess I was reserving judgment to say that, the program design that this asks us to come up with, it could go in any number of directions depending on what our report says. So that was my understanding.
Chris,
can you give us an idea of the timing here? So you get this, pick a vendor next week.
Yeah.
What's the time frame?
So we are looking. So this, this report is not existing in a vacuum either. There are other intended uses, even beyond just a Navigator program design. It's going to inform future climate action plan work. It's going to inform the state energy plan. So we're looking at having this report done in mid-October of this year. And that is both to inform comprehensive energy planning in early stages and also climate mitigation work. And so it was our feeling that if we can get this done, with a month or two to spare before the start of the session, then having a couple of months into the session to finish the design should be sufficient. It'll be tight, but I think it's doable.
Right. Well, we could at least get to a point where we can understand whether a bill like this is even necessary. Is that accurate?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah.
thank you. Do you anybody have any questions? I don't want to dominate the conversation.
So you're supporting the budget, the appropriations request in here?
Unfortunately, we cannot support the appropriation of any new money. That's a directive. And so the contingency on finding funding, or we have talked about some other potential structures, but we can't support the appropriation just as is.
So you're,
Go ahead.
this isn't a proposal from the administration, is it? Or was this originally a proposal from the administration? It's one that you're supportive of. Outside of-
Yeah, I believe this came out of Senate Natural,
Yeah.
Senator Hedi.
Senator Hedi,
Okay.
it's based on Addison County program, right?
But it's just one that you're supportive of, sans appropriation.
Correct. So you do support the bill, just not the appropriation.
Yes, we support we appreciate and support the emphasis on navigators and the potential we think exists there, but not.
But
I wasn't planning to
I mean,
leave
the
you,
money's
but
for
long as you're not seeing
the money for doing her report.
no,
For that,
the money in this bill,
yeah, for Addison County.
it's for designing about a community-based program.
Which they're gonna do for free.
So I read it was to support the expansion of the Addison County.
Well, yeah,
Just separate.
it's to contract with a third-party consultant to design a Vermont community-based home energy navigator coaching program in collaboration with the Climate Action Center of Addison County and other existing stakeholders and other existing community-based energy navigator programs. So I don't know, am I misreading it? Just when I see community-based, I see volunteers. Is that that's the way I interpret it?
I guess that is one way to interpret it.
I
Yeah.
think that's well.
So you support contracting with a third party consultant,
Correct.
and you're just gonna pull that out of the coffers.
In a word, yes. We have additional money in the grant. And again, the way that I spoke about this with Senator Hardy was that it was to be contingent on finding additional funding. And so that was what we supported. I direct appropriation is not supported.
Okay, I'll be very interested to see the outcome of your report. What that produces, I think that's gonna be the key to this. I agree.
Are we getting a copy of that report? It's a matter of course.
Yeah.
I think it's or no, that's true. It's the other network.
Another
Yeah.
report. We will
Certainly be there.
yeah, great.
And I would add, I don't know what the different process from the PUC will be. Once that report comes out, there may be additional effort on that front side. Not exactly sure what's going to happen when that report comes out.
Like a proceeding.
It could be, I don't know, or can't envision a number of things happening. Put some recommendations together, they'll want to look into that and potentially flesh those out more.
Is that a department commission report or a committee or commission report?
In department.
Yeah. Because I should have thought I did refer to it. Yes, sir.
So, in this bill, we were told it was a $35,000 appropriation and 25K was going to the Department of Public Service, your department. What were you supposed to do with 25K?
The 25K was to do the program design.
Well, and hire a contract.
Right. To hire a third party to develop the design and lead the stakeholder process.
Yeah, I thought Madison Curran County already had a program.
Yes, they do. But
They would be designing statewide.
this would be a statewide.
Oh, okay.
Sort of an extrapolation.
Okay. I guess I'm still having a hard time squaring now the department's support for the bill as a community-based home energy navigator and coaching program. When you're clear that you're not expecting the RFP that you have out now to recommend a volunteer-based program. So the discrepancy between community-based but not volunteer is what I stripping right at this moment.
Well, yeah, I guess I would just reiterate that we are. I'm trying not to preempt what the program design will be necessarily. So I guess I would stand behind previous assertion that I don't envision it being, just because of the, as you say, the required special skills in order to help potential program participants navigate these programs. I don't think we were envisioning it being volunteer based, but I guess I'm not sure how to square the community based language with volunteers.
You know, I mean, pretty easy for me to square, support the idea of a statewide navigator program and disagree whether it should be voluntary or paid. Right, like that's a detail. Agree with the bill overall. Would prefer it be paid or would prefer it be volunteers. Detail.
Which would be determined based on their report.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, they're going to study that question and make a recommendation. And that's that.
Okay. I'm glad you're clear on that. The other possible pathway, it seems to me, is to augment sort of the existing entry points into energy efficiency work. So we've already talked about the weatherization program has a robust energy coaching program, but it's only for people who are eligible for weather, who are going through the weatherization process. In other words, they're on the list. They've come up to the top of the list, and they're about to get served with installation, whatever air sewer electors. But before they actually get served, the energy coach goes to their house, goes to the person's house, and provides some education and detail about this is what we're going to do, and all of that. But expanding that energy coaching work that they do to people who aren't on the list to get served would be one way of sort of increasing the footprint of energy navigators in the low-income world. The EEUs, the energy efficiency utilities, already have entry points for efficiency coaching. Sort of expanding the concept of what weatherization does to the EEUs. So again, people who are not necessarily on the list to get installation services, but who just call and ask for either an energy audit or what do I do next kind of thing. That might be another way of augmenting the sort of navigator service. And then in addition, there's all the distribution utilities that have tier 3 requirements and other sort of efficiency requirements. There's another end.
Yeah, yes, and I think really serves to underscore the department's position that we really need to finish this study before we dive fully into any particular program design.
So how could this, if we did pass this bill, how would it dovetail with the study that you're doing?
So to that point, I think it would, the study would, as I'm describing this well, but I think the study is really meant to clarify the landscape of all of the programs and all the different entry points that you just listed. There are myriad other ones. And so before we just throw another program into the mix, I think it would be prudent for us to kind of really study that landscape and really understand where all of the particular pain points are, where things are working, where they're not. And then if letting the sort of industry best practice and that review from a third party consultant sort of dictate where we would apply an energy program.
Yeah, so I guess that's the first thing that comes to mind is why did we wait on this bill until you're finished your RFP and get a report? All right, we can stop. All those in favor? Is that where we all are? I mean, that's one possibility. I mean, the other possibility is we, somehow make this contingent on result of the report. It does say something in here about, let's see, the department's consultant shall build on findings from the department's comprehensive process and performance evaluation of more than 100 publicly funded energy programs, which is what the RFP is, right?
Correct.
What page are you on?
First page, this is line 10 and 11. I guess I'm wondering, is there any urgency in passing this now, or I suppose one could say that by passing this now, we might have a program design, and this actually requires a program design report. The bill says by March 1, 2027, although that's really too late at the legislative session to get a bill out, because you're not really time to take testimony after March 1st. So people have recommended that we make it January 1st, but then that's a very narrow window between October, mid to late October, when we get the results of the RFP that is now out. It's basically only 2 months, and you have, hunting season, Thanksgiving, and Christmas, and
Next holiday, yeah, it's not a feasible.
right. So. I know where we should go with this, and we'll have further discussion. I think it would be useful to get the RFP so we can see exactly what we're talking about.
Okay.
As far as what you're expecting back from the process that you're in now. And we will leave it at that. Anybody else have any questions? Comments? Thoughts?
No, thanks for coming again.
Yeah.
Yes. All right. Okay, thank you, Alan. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right,
Thank you.
let's see, we are off for the day now and back tomorrow morning at 9. No,
No.
tomorrow morning at,
No,
9:34.
actually, we don't see anything on Friday.
do we have anything on tomorrow?
We don't have anything scheduled.
Oh,
What's that?
That could change, but there's nothing scheduled right now.
There's nothing scheduled? Oh.
good answer. Yes.
Could change.
And we may be back tomorrow, who knows?
Depends on
Are we-
what's tonight.
Are we still on?
Yeah,
Yes.
we are, yes, we're